So another thing that you can do to supplement nutrition or nutrients in your soil when you're container growing is to add compost or coffee grounds, organic matter. You can buy worm castings, you can buy mushroom compost, all kinds of things. You can buy like a concentrated bottle of liquid fertilizer that you dilute, all those kinds of things, and you add that to the soil. We actually use worms to compost down our yard waste and whatever, sometimes our leftover food scraps like vegetable and fruit scraps. And we have a vermihut, which is just like a tower that we use to have the worms break down all that waste and turn it into compost for us. I have a whole long video about explaining it in detail how we do that and manage it through the winter here in the Chicagoland area, and we do it all in our house. But here I'm just going to, I have 3 levels here that I think are going to be ready, and I ran out of brand new potting soil. So I'm going to be reusing potting soil that I had starts in earlier this year. So they have drained out quite a bit of nutrients that was in that soil. And so I'm going to do like a half and half worm castings. Like I'll use half of whatever's in there, and the other half I'll put in these worm castings to transplant out my squash and zucchini. So these are just plastic trays. That's 3 of the 5, and this is what's left. Sometimes you can see the worms hanging on the bottom, and I'll just dump it out. And we built this sifter, and it's just got hardware cloth and like 2x4s or something like that. These are smaller, but whatever. Over like a Rubbermaid container or whatever, and I'll just sift through this dirt, and this will catch the large debris that is not yet broken down, like these leaves, and it'll catch the worms from falling through. So I can just go back and put them back into the vermihut. this is what I harvested with those 3 trays. I got these nice worm castings, and there's no doubt quite a few, you know, there's one right there, worms that made it through, but that's okay. I'm going to let them be. I separated out a lot of worms in here. You can see them all in there. And then the bigger chunks I threw back in here. And I'll put that back in my vermihut to keep breaking down and let these worms keep doing their thing. And so with this here, I'm gonna add it to, I have some older of these grow bags, and this is what I was talking about with, you know, the aging of it. Gets a little dirty and moldy on the sides, and there's just like moss growing on the sides of them. But this is old dirt that I used last year. So I just drug my hands through this to break it up. So it's nice and airy again, but it's still got like that perlite in it, which will help with moisture. There's just not nutrients. So what I'll do is I'll dig like a trench for my zucchini. I'll put some of those worm castings there, down in the bottom here where the roots of that plant will sit. And then I will pack around that zucchini with more of these worm castings. And then, so this is my zucchini plant, and as you can see, it's, you know, looking a little sad. It needs more nutrients and more room for these roots to grow. Squash, zucchinis, even cucumbers and melons and things like that, they do not like to be in small containers for long. They quickly get root bound. So this is not yet root bound, but it would not take long. So I created a nice little bed of those worm castings, and I'll put that down in there, and then I'll surround it with even more worm castings. And I'll probably do just one more here. On the back. That leaf probably won't survive. This one may survive. And then I'll just cover this up with this surrounding soil here. These big strong leaves coming up around where these other two are looking kind of sad. So I think it'll be just fine even if it loses this one and this one. But so now this is ready. And I'm just gonna put this on the floor of my greenhouse to start acclimating to outdoor temperatures. And so I'm gonna do that same thing with these scallop yellow squash. And these are the ones that I showed you how to start seeds with. And you can see that the roots are already coming out of the bottom here. So I sowed these on April 24th, and today is May 15th. So that was 3 weeks ago, exactly. And they are well past ready to get out of this container. So I'm going to, I think, put 3 in here, and I'm just gonna pull 3 of these largest ones I can out of here and plant those for the time being until I have more space to put them. And so here are the 3 yellow scallop squash that I just planted. And again, I just put it at the base where the roots went, put the plant in, and then put more over the top and packed around it. And then I just pressed it all down with the soil that I covered up, the compost with the soil that was already in here. You'll hear people talking about top dressing their gardens, and what they're doing is putting the nutrient, whatever nutrient they're using, compost or mostly compost, whatever amendments they're using, they put it on the top and they just lightly work it in on the top so that as it rains, all those nutrients seep down into the soil with the rain and all the water that you put on it, and it trickles down through the soil to the roots, and the nutrients sink deeper and deeper into the soil. So you want that water passing through your compost or your amendment that you put in, so it can penetrate through all of your soil and help the whole plant out. So then this, again, I'll put in my greenhouse, and I still have another, I think, 6 plants of these scallop squash, and I'll probably put them in more bags as I find them around my yard. So that's all for today. I'm gonna use the rest of these worm castings to top dress one of my garden beds that has my herbs in it, and then I think I'm gonna throw in maybe some more celery or some of my cabbages in that bed, just as some extra plants. And then, like I said, the larger not so broken down stuff and these worms, I'm going to fill these back up with more compost. There's 3 levels. These are the 3 levels that I didn't take from the tower in winter when I harvested them. And like I mentioned, I had made a fully in-depth video on my vermihut and how we vermicompost through the winter, but I haven't yet posted it because I did it over the winter and I wasn't really sure that people would be interested in seeing that right now, knowing that, you know, now we're very well into spring, and we're kind of out of that season. But it does go into, it has a lot of good information about composting and vermicomposting and things like that. So I don't know, leave a comment down below and let me know if that would be something that you actually would be interested in seeing, and I will definitely put that up if that's something that people would like to see. But I'll fill this back up with more compost, put these guys back in here, and just let the process keep going. So that is all for what we are doing today.
Thank you guys for stopping by today and joining in on our journey here at Bare Bones Living. We'll catch you on the next one.